And let me call on stage the head of Google Europe, Nikesh Arora, who is right there. Welcome, Nikesh. Please help me welcome Nikesh. How are you, Nikesh? Please have a seat if you... Right. So please, welcome, Nikesh. And thanks for also supporting LeWeb the way you do.
Well, you're welcome.
So you had a small startup.
I had a small startup, yes. It's cold in this room.
It's a bit cold, but it's going to be, we're going to heat it up with our questions and conversations. So when you joined Google, how long was it?
4 years ago.
4 years ago. How many employees did you have in Europe?
Slightly under 500.
And now?
Slightly over 3,000.
2,000 employees. Well, that's a small startup.
Yes.
So 500 to 2,000 employees for Google Europe. And do you, I guess, yeah, it's public. So what's the proportion of Europe versus the US? Is it like a small office? Is it 2,000 people is a lot, but how many do you have worldwide?
We have about, I said 3,000, but we have about 20,000 worldwide.
Oh.
3,000 here.
Is Europe important in Google?
I think our CEO said last quarter that more than half the revenues of Google come from outside the US.
Half?
More than half.
How much from Europe?
I'm sure somebody can figure this out.
Good. Get ready for your questions, please. I'll be asking you to ask questions in a few minutes. I know Lauren Feldman has a question. So what is the environment like? Before we come back to Google, can you have such a powerful and a very fast-moving organization. We are getting into tough times, which we cannot ignore, obviously. How do you see it? Do you think we're in a short term? Do you think we've all over-exaggerated our reaction, or do you think it's going to go for next 2-3 years? It's going to be really bad. How do you look at it yourself?
I think if I had the answer, I'd be rushing to the equity markets. But I think it's an interesting time. It's an interesting time because it's sort of like having a bit of a hangover after a big party. So it's going to take a bit of time across Europe for this hangover to be over. The good news is we all know that we had a big party. So we are going to take some time to digest this current situation in the market. Having said that, there's very, very positive signs out there, both on the government side as well as the corporate side, where people are taking remedial measures, which should get us out of this sooner than later. I still expect the US to come out of this before Europe does. And
so how are you adapting the company or not adapting it yourself? Your team, the way you do business, the way you're generating revenues. Is it something you sense, you can feel already?
And we're doing a multiple sort of set of things. First is we're using the opportunity to continue to focus. We want to make sure that in this environment, like any other company, we are out there making sure we are focusing on the users, we're focusing on creating the great products, we're focusing our teams to make sure they're delivering the best that they can. And at the same time, this is a wonderful opportunity to find the best people out there to continue to help us do our efforts. So I think we're not going to do something irrational or something sort of knee-jerk in this environment. We are going to use the opportunity to double down and focus on what we think we want to be good at.
Talking about Europe, you're the head of one of the largest players of internet in Europe. And there were many, you're not only a search engine by far right now, but there are many European search engines. Do you think Europe can, succeed in having world leaders, not only in search, like in everything? I'm always complaining myself that if you look at the internet as a whole, most internet leaders worldwide are Americans. We had search engines. We even had a public French-German search engine called Quero, if you remember that. I guess we'll talk about it with the minister tomorrow, see if you get an update on how we're going to fight with Google. But there was Skype, our friends, and Niklas and Janus. And Skype is now eBay, so it's American. There is in the room, or later on today, Brent Oberman, who founded lastminute.com. It became American. And I could go on and on like this. Do you think we're just doomed to create startups that become American, or is it what's your hope for Europe?
I think your event here and the number of wonderful companies you see on the program who are startups is a testament to the fact that clearly there are lots of startups in Europe, and there is going to be this continued entrepreneurial spirit that will survive in Europe. I think we've debated this before, and you can debate it. There is some structural reasons why you see a lot more startup activity in the US versus over here. But
so can you name them? What do you think? Why? Look at this room. We have like 30 plus countries, full of energy. Why is it so US dominated? We're here to help Europe, right?
I think this room is a testament to the fact that there are startups in Europe. I just think we need to take the people in this room and get them to evangelize what they do.
Can you help?
And have these guys be the role models of success.
So let's talk about cultural differences. You have how many countries in your team? It must be incredible.
60.
60 nationalities. Wow. And so, do you see any cultural differences which are interesting to quote? Like, do you see any trend in that? Also in the idea of focusing on how to help Europe.
I think there is you get different perspectives from different people. I think there is in general, a lower appetite for risk in certain businesses across Europe than there is in the US. And you can see the standard deviation is higher in the US. The markets go through huge ups and downs. And failure is not considered a bad thing. You can try multiple things, and if you fail, you can try something else. And I think there are people in the audience, there are people in this room who have sort of experienced that and said, failure is an opportunity to go out and find another way to succeed. And I think that's something that is very different from a cultural perspective in Europe than it is in the US.
Can we fix it? So less risk-taking. All right, so that's a big one. How can we fix that?
Unfortunately, I don't think you and I can fix that. I think it depends on the people. They have to step up and take the risk themselves. I firmly believe that the next Google is going to come from a garage, or the next successful large company is going to come from a garage. People often ask me, which are the competitors you're scared of? And my answer is, it's the two guys in the garage. If you asked the question 10 years ago, are you scared of Google? People would not have known that we existed.
But so let's take those two people in a garage. I'm in a garage in Europe, say in Italy, for example. Are there any Italians in the room? Hi, see?
How many of them are in a garage?
Buongiorno. So you're in a garage in Italy, and you have very good mozzarella, much better than what you get anywhere else. And you're it's not Italy only, but you don't by default you don't speak English. So we speak English, but just starting a conference like this in France without translation, for example, in French, people thought I was crazy to do this. And so how do you take it from local to global? For example, one of the things which maybe you can help on is if you start in the US, you have those 300 million people as a market, which is one language, more risk-taking, maybe more early adopter. Here we need 22 languages to reach the same.
Yeah, see, I think it is wrong to think about the world now broken up into countries with different languages. I think the opportunities have to be seen as 1.4 billion people connected to the internet. When 1.4 billion people connected to the internet, that is a much larger audience than the 10 million in Austria, or the 75 million in France, or the 60 million in the UK.
Yes, but if I start in France, I tend to focus on France. If I start in Germany, I tend to focus on Germany, because we have those we talk amongst ourselves, and we tend to so what would be your advice to?
But I think that is the fatal flaw. The fatal flaw that a lot of the existing businesses and entrepreneurs, they still tend to sometimes focus on the country they operate in, or the culture they know the best. I mean, there's so many examples, whether it's Skype, Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, pick the example. The reasons these have been successful on a global basis is because they were able to target the 1.4 billion people. And it's fascinating how, even if they started in one language, the language has not been the barrier to their adoption.
So if you start a business in Moscow or in Germany, your first advice would be don't focus on your market, but think global, 1 billion customers.
1% of a billion is a lot bigger than 1% of 10 million, last I checked. So if you can get 1% of a billion on anything, whether it's...
So start by English.
Well, I think start by something you think that 1.4 billion people can use. There are certain things where language is not relevant, right? If you can come up with a great technological idea which does not depend on language, language is the least important part. Uploading pictures, dealing with videos, those are not language specific, because the content will be generated in the language that it is in the individual countries, but you can build a platform.
So think global and launch global. How about like how your advice is regarding investment? There is also, and I don't want like this is the proof that there's something happening huge in Europe, but it's less easy, more difficult to find business angels, to find investment. And I'm sure as Google, you have a lot of customers who are startups and who are in this ecosystem, not only large companies, so you probably need to help them. How do you see that? Like we have less also tendency to invest in startups. Can we change that? Should Google launch a fund, Europe to save Europe?
Should Google launch a fund to save
Why
Europe?
not?
I think there are many venture capitalists.
They'll buy advertising to you after.
People actually believe that. No, there are many venture capitalists.
Do you think Google should help Europe and launch like a initiative to help the European startups?
We'll take that feedback back. I think there are lots of venture capitalists in the room. I think there is access to capital in these markets. What is going to happen in the current market is you're going to have a very good idea.
Wait, but Nikesh, I have an idea.
Okay.
But it's very tough to find 100,000 euros.
Okay, what's your idea?
Well, we can talk about that. Like I like virtual goods these days. I really like virtual
groups.
Okay, so I can call. So Nikesh, you're actually a business angel too, right?
Yes, I am.
All right, so you can call Nikesh.
If you have a great idea, you can call me.
And offer him to invest. And also, how can Google help me in my idea if I'm in Germany or if I'm in Austria or in Finland?
I mean, there's a whole day of Google workshops here later where you can see how you can work with our various products and how you can use them as a platform or as a basis to create more innovation, whether it's on the mobile side, whether it's on the open social networking side. So there's lots of ideas, and I'm not going to stand here and enumerate those.
So that's tomorrow. That's today, all day long. There is a Google.
From 11 to 6, I think, and you get a sneak peek under the covers of many Google products, so you can use that as a basis for creating innovation. But again, I don't think it's about just one company creating innovation. I think it's about people having great ideas and finding access to capital. 3 or 4 years ago, if you asked me the question, I would have said access to capital is harder in Europe. But now there's enough money out there, enough venture capitalists, enough business angels who are willing to support and fund ideas if you have a good idea. It's what's fascinating is if you go back and look, companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft were all created in actually economic downturns, not in economic upturns.
That's right.
Google was started in 1998, which is when we were sort of just beginning to reach the peak of the last
went
bubble.
through all the recession.
And we went through the recession.
The bubble, yeah.
So I think what is important is the economic climate does not dictate whether you're going to be successful as an entrepreneur or not. It actually creates tremendous amounts of focus. So people in this room who have businesses who are trying to make sure they succeed, they should use this opportunity to refine their ideas to make them really, really work. And I don't think they will have a problem getting access to capital.
That's very optimistic. So do we have a question in the room? Please raise your hand if you do. There is one back there, juste derrière vous, over there. And yeah, can you raise your hand again, please, for the question? Yeah, here, là, juste là. Can you stand up and introduce yourself in a sentence, please?
Hello, my name is Anina, 360 Fashion. I use your Google products in my business, and there's a wonderful suite of things that I can use, but there's no to-do notes. Why is there no to-do?
Okay, I'm sure I will not be able to sit here and answer why certain features don't exist, but what I will do is I will take feedback from what you just said, and there are many Google people around, and they'll keep track of it, and we'll find you later and tell you. I'm sure there are many places where you can write down what you need to get done, but I'll take that as feedback.
All right, next question here, right there. Can you raise your hand again so that we find you? Okay. And please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Wasim Sadiq from Inbox 2.
Which country?
Holland. You wouldn't say that if looking at me, but from Holland. Well, you said there's a lot of access to capital. Well, I'm an entrepreneur from startup. It's very hard. It's impossible, actually, for us to receive capital. I think if we would build bricks, we could get capital. But, well, we're a high-tech startup, and our biggest problem, I think I agree with you, there are a lot of VCs, but well, the biggest issue is basically just how do you get in touch with them? You know, if I said...
Let's do this. Let's do this live, right? Any venture capitalists in the room?
Venture capitalists, business
Raise your
angels,
hand.
please
Turn
raise
around,
your
Wasim.
hand.
There's one in the back there.
They hide.
There's two, there's three,
Yeah.
4.
No, but I know many more who don't raise your hand. Jeff, you're
5.
hiding.
All right, will you guys talk to Wasim, please? He's got an idea.
I've got a great idea.
See, there's 5 in the room, and I'm sure there's more than 5. They're just
They
slowly
don't
waking
move.
up. And
Yeah, but 5 on 1,600 people, that's hard to find them back.
all right, I saw in your program there's about another 10 more, right?
Yeah, no, well, there are many, and there is a panel also tonight. But yes, it's difficult to raise funds, especially these days. But I think we'll address this later on. But you know, like you have Google Health.
Yes.
You have, you know, so many initiatives which are outside of your core business. So,
Okay.
is it not?
No, I think
Saving the world for viruses? It's,
I think you have to understand the philosophy on which our founders built the business has been to try and organize the world's information.
Right.
And information exists in various forms in various areas. So whether it's Google Earth, where you're trying to take a look at visual information, or Google Local, or Google Print, where you're trying to take a look at all the information in print, or Google Video, there's lots of different products which are around the same theme of creating the ability for us to organize information, as well as allow people access to that information through our applications. So actually, there is a grand theme behind what is perceived as chaos.
all right. Any other question? Yeah, well, right there. Can you keep your hand up, please? We're coming to you. And please introduce yourself. I'd love a Google form.
Good morning. My name is Monty, and I have a question for Nikesh.
You're from Germany, right?
I'm from Germany.
What do you do in Germany, Monty?
I'm a trend scout, and I'm just focusing on mobile topics. So I just started mocom2020.com, which is an open think tank. And,
Congratulations. What's your question?
I know that Nikesh is also looking into the future and talking about language barriers. What is your vision there? Can we like overcome these barriers in the language in the future?
So the other day I saw something which was very fascinating, right? So as we all know, we all tend to overestimate the short term and underestimate the long term. I was trying to talk to somebody who speaks Spanish, and I had a really hard time communicating because I don't speak Spanish. And you know, in Google Talk there is this robot which I can type in English, and actually it translates it into Spanish to the person on the other side. So, you know, and all of us who have tried to do translation of the web have found it extremely hard because it uses basically what is dictionary type translation. It takes every word and translates it, then strings a sentence. Given the development that has happened in technology, given the amount of computing power that exists, I think we can go to a world where you can actually translate sentence for sentence. If you have multiple books which are scanned in the world, which are available in multiple languages, you can say, wait, the last 25 times this sentence was translated like this, therefore it must mean this, so you don't have to do dictionary-based translation. If you believe that hypothesis and say, that's possible, there are building blocks available where text can be translated to speech and vice versa. So I think there could be a world where if I pick up the phone and call somebody who speaks Spanish, somehow what I say gets translated into Spanish in the cloud and then get translated back to voice, and that person will hear me speaking in Spanish or hear an automated voice speak in Spanish. If that was to happen, just imagine if that happened 5 to 10 years from now, it would change how we do a lot of our business.
Oh, and not only the business.
It would change how we communicate and how we think. Because for the first time, we will not have to learn 700 languages to be able to effectively communicate amongst people.
And for Europe, it's very, very important, absolutely.
So, I mean, there's phenomenal capabilities that are going to get unleashed from a technological perspective, which automatically change the way the game is going to get played and give us totally different platforms to operate. I mean, before the internet existed, we didn't know what social networking was. You know? Now we have social networking. Now people are twittering, or you were twittering, aren't you?
Twitter?
Something like that, right?
And so before, well, we have many questions. Okay, I'll take one more. So you over there? Here you go. All right.
Hi, Sandy Gregson from the Daily Twitter.
Which country?
UK, London.
That's okay.
What are you guys doing with Jaiku?
Sorry?
What are you guys doing with Jaiku?
We're not doing anything to Jaiku. It's a wonderful company we've acquired. We're going to work with the founders and the people on the team to see if we can find an interesting way to integrate that product and deploy it to all the users in the world.
going to fit with your Google product sets, I guess, overall?
So what?
Will it fit with the Google product sets overall?
Yes, I think they have fascinating technology. You know, one of the things which is very important is at Google, we have a very clear view that if we are not smart enough to figure it out and somebody else has figured it out, let's not be too proud. Instead, let's embrace them and find a way of making them part of the family and finding a way of making that product available globally. We did that.
Sorry, keep going.
No. We did that with Picasa, we did that with Google Earth, we did that with a whole host of products. The idea is, you know, we do not believe that we're the only entrepreneurial business in town. We believe there are lots of entrepreneurs out there, they have great ideas. In some ways, giving them a platform is by providing them capital. In some ways, giving them a platform is providing them a platform at Google to allow them to deploy their products around the world.
So that's interesting. How do I get acquired by Google Europe? You're saying yes, we embrace when you started.
Yes.
I'm sure we talked about one, raising capital. Two, you know, like how you can help the ecosystem, and you have a full day again. You can meet Google downstairs during the entire day, and also with something we've not touched is you help revenues, right, with Google AdSense, and so unfortunately we won't have more time, but you can go downstairs. But the other one is like, oh, okay, I could get acquired by Google. What's like the top 5, like, and you'll be here today. So if I'm an entrepreneur in this room and I want to pitch you to get acquired, what are you looking for?
I'm going to go back to your theme about love in the beginning, right? So you explained about falling in love is like being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
I think it's very important that the entrepreneur not get focused on Google as their lover and that my aspiration in life is to be acquired by Google because you'll get to the wrong result.
So you should not, the first advice is you should not create a company thinking, I so agree with that. Like I don't know anybody actually who got acquired focusing on I want to get acquired,
exactly.
Right?
I think if you're really good at what you do, you're yourself, you do a great job building a business. If you have a great idea which nobody else has, I'm sure not just Google, many people will be trying to be out there, trying to work with you to provide a platform, either partner with you or make you part of their portfolio.
But if I integrate myself with Google a lot, with all your APIs, it increases my chances?
No, I think if you integrate yourself, basically you don't have to rebuild what's already been built and you can focus on innovation. You don't have, I think it's very important to figure out, if I'm going to get from point A to point B, should I use the road or should I start building my road, my own truck, and eventually get from point A to point B?
So, Nikesh, I would like to say that now that I have challenged you on how you can have, help the startups, you're actually helping them a lot. Like Microsoft is doing it. And just by, helping us put this event together, so I would like to conclude with this, our conversation here, that the fact that you are here behind LeWeb and behind those 2 days of us, networking, getting ideas, is actually really helping Europe, I think. So thank you so much.
One last comment from me. I just want to congratulate all the entrepreneurs in the room. I think these are the times where if you can ride the next 12 to 18 months in Europe, you will come out with great business. So congratulations, and please keep up the work.
Thank you so much, Google. Thank you very much, Nikesh. Careful here. Oh, I was. Wait. Thank you very much, Nikesh.